Okay, let me ask you something. Can a small debt, I mean a really small one, actually land you in jail for life? It sounds crazy, right? Well, in today's Explainer, we're going to look at a shocking case where that almost became a reality. So we're talking about a debt of about $12 a month. Seriously, $12. Could that get you locked up forever? You'd think, no way, of course not. But for one man, this wasn't just some weird thought experiment. This was his actual life.
And this is the man at the center of it all, Laljee Yadav. He was a daily wage earner, so making ends meet was already tough. A court ordered him to pay his estranged wife 1,000 rupees a month. But here's the thing, when he couldn't pay, the system's response wasn't just a penalty or a fine. No, it was to throw him in jail. And he stayed there for over a year, with absolutely no idea when he'd get out.
So you have to be asking, how on earth does something like this even happen? Let's dig in and see just how this legal trap was sprung.
You know, the High Court had a perfect way to describe this. They called it a vicious circle. And when you think about it, that's exactly what it was. This guy's a daily laborer, right? So to pay his debt, he has to work. But he can't work because he's in jail. And why is he in jail? Because he can't work to pay the debt. It's this perfect, maddening loop that's impossible to escape.
And just look at this timeline. It's just incredible. In July 2010, they put him in jail. A month later, he applies for release. And nope, denied. He's sent right back. Then, get this, fast forward almost a year to April 2011, and the court doesn't even bother to have him show up for his own hearing. They just adjourn. His custody was just mechanically renewed over and over until he was so desperate he had to write this plea by hand from his jail cell. It just shows a system completely on autopilot with a real human being trapped inside.
I mean, this whole thing just feels deeply, fundamentally wrong, doesn't it? And here's the kicker. It was. It wasn't just wrong, it was completely illegal. So let's take a look at what the rules actually are.
And this really gets to the core of the problem. The law itself was made to support families, not to lock people up. So what went so terribly wrong here? Let's break down all the rules that the lower court just, well, completely forgot about.
Okay, this comparison right here tells the whole story. On one side, you have what happened to Laljee Yadav. Boom, immediate arrest, thrown in jail indefinitely. But on the other side, that's what the law actually says should happen. First, you try to get the money from property. Jail time? That's supposed to be the absolute last resort. It's not just a mistake, it's the total opposite of how the system is designed to work. So let's walk through the correct procedure, step by step. First, the court has to ask the person, hey, why haven't you paid? They have to give a reason. Then, the court has to actually decide if that reason is good enough. And here's the most important part. Step 3 is not jail. It's seizing property to cover the debt. Only if that doesn't work, only then can a judge even think about a jail sentence. And this right here might be the single biggest rule that was ignored. For each month that goes unpaid, the absolute maximum sentence you can get is 1 month. That's it. Not a year. Certainly not forever. 1 single month. End of story.
You see, the law is really clear on this. This kind of debt is treated just like a fine. And when you're collecting a fine, the rules say you go after assets, you go after property, you don't go after the person. The first move is supposed to be about property, not prison.
So after more than a year stuck in this impossible loop, Laljee Yadav's case finally makes it to a higher court, the Patna High Court, and boy did they have something to say about it. Their reaction was fast and it was powerful.
The High Court judges took one look at this and saw right through it. They saw how completely absurd the whole thing was. And they asked this one simple, devastating question that got right to the point. How does he get out of the vicious circle? I mean, it's just common sense, right? If a guy has to work to earn the money he owes, how does locking him in a cell help anyone? And they did not hold back in their judgment. They called what the lower court did quite scandalous. Instead, it showed total insensitivity. These are strong words. For them, this wasn't just some small procedural mix-up. This was a massive failure of the justice system. So when the High Court laid out its verdict, it was just devastating for the lower court's actions. Was the arrest legal? Nope. Unlawful. Was there due process? Absolutely not. Did they follow the correct procedure? Not even close. What it all added up to was a completely illegal detention. It was a total breakdown at every single stage of the process.
And so there was no delay. On the exact same day they heard the case, July 21st, 2011,
the High Court just wiped the custody order off the books. They ordered Laljee Yadav's immediate release. Just like that. After more than a year, his ordeal was finally over.
But you know, the story doesn't just end with his freedom. Because this case, it became a landmark. It actually created stronger protections for everyone.
So why are we still talking about this one case from over a decade ago? Well, because it's so much bigger than just one person's story. It's this incredible reminder that our legal system has to protect personal freedom above almost anything else. And it's set down these super important rules that courts still follow to this day.
Basically, the whole judgment can be boiled down to 3 really simple, really powerful principles. First, property first, prison last, always. Second, the person has a right to be heard. You have to let them explain why they couldn't pay. And third, and this is crucial, each mispayment is its own separate thing. 1 month's debt equals a maximum of 1 month's sentence. You can't just stack them up and throw away the key.
And when you look at it, what the court was really protecting here are the absolute pillars of our justice system. You've got due process, the right to a fair shake. You've got proportionality, making sure the punishment actually fits the crime. And of course, the big one, personal liberty. The idea that you can't just be locked up without a very, very good and lawful reason.
When it's all said and done, the Laljee Yadav case is this huge stop sign for judicial power. It's a reminder to every court that no matter what, you have to follow the rules. Personal freedom is just too important to be snatched away by what the High Court called a scandalous or mechanical process. And that brings us to the final and maybe most chilling question. See, the laws that set Laljee Yadav free weren't new. They were already on the books the entire time he was locked up. The rules were clear. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other people might be out there right now stuck in their own vicious circles, all because the system simply failed to follow its own rules.